Good evening, everyone. Sorry for that slight delay. Welcome to our Urban Planning Committee meeting of the 22nd of March 2017. I'm Councillor Samantha Ratnam and will be your chair this evening. In recognising the cultural diversity of our great city, I pay my respects to the local Indigenous people of Moreland by acknowledging that we meet on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. I offer my respects to Wurundjeri elders past and present and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Members of the gallery, please note this urban planning meeting is being recorded and web streamed live to Council's website. This recording will also be available as video on demand. Gallery attendees are advised they will be recorded during the meeting. Councillors, just as a reminder that in line with the adopted councillor conduct principles, councillors should ensure that they conduct themselves in the meeting with integrity, impartially exercise their responsibilities in the interests of the local community, and not improperly seek to confer or advantage any person. This behaviour will support principles for leadership and good governance that secures public confidence in the office of councillor. I'd like to introduce the councillors and officers with us in attendance tonight. Councillors in attendance with us are Councillor Natalie Abood, Councillor Sue Bolton, Councillor Ali Farnley, Councillor Helen Davidson, Councillor John Kavanagh. Good evening. Councillor Dale Martin, Councillor Mark Riley. That's it for now. And the officers in attendance. Oh, sorry. Apologies, I'm running away with myself. Apologies. My sincere apologies, Councillor Kapanos. You are well and truly here in spirit. My eyes went to rail straight away. Apologies. The officers in attendance with us tonight are Group Manager of City Development, Philip Priest, Planning Coordinator, Narelle Jennings, Principal Urban Planner, Lauren Lees, and Governance Officer, Saskia Hunter. We've received a few apologies for tonight. I've had an apology from Councillor Anna-Olivia Carley-Hannon. Are there any further apologies? That's it, our full suite. Could I have a mover for that apology? Councillor Kavanagh, and seconded by Councillor Davidson. Any questions on that? Certainly.
Just to say that some might think that Councillor Yildiz is an apology. Councillor Yildiz has resigned from the Urban Planning Committee, and therefore that's why he's not mentioned tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kavanagh. I'll put that apology to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? I declare that carried. We're now moving on to the adoption of the minutes from the last Urban Planning Committee meeting. Could I have a mover for the minutes of the 22nd of February 2017? Councillor Davidson, Mayor Davidson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Abood. Is there any debate on those minutes? No. In that case, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Councillors, can I ask if there are any declarations of interest and/or conflict of interest? Councillor Abood.
Yes, I'd like to report an indirect conflict of interest, which is a close association, and a member of my family has an indirect interest. So I've got that terminology specifically.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Abood, which means that you will excuse yourself from the Urban Planning Committee matter this evening.
That's right.
Excellent. Thank you. I will now, Councillor Abood, you're welcome to stay for the rest. Yes, up to you. I'll now give you an outline of how the Urban Planning Committee will run tonight. The relevant planner will introduce the report and officers' recommendations. I will then give any objectors the opportunity to move to the lectern to make their submission. After this time, the applicant will be given the opportunity to speak. If you're making a submission, please clearly state your name and address for the record. You are requested to present viewpoints clearly and concisely on why you support or oppose the planning application. Please try not to repeat what earlier speakers have said and keep the discussion focused on the relevant planning issues. If you're opposed to the planning application, would you please inform the committee why you're opposed and perhaps suggest an alternative approach which would satisfy your concerns. Please use this opportunity to focus on your concerns rather than the matters detailed in the officer's report. There's an approximate 3-minute time limit for each speaker, but as chairperson, I reserve the right to reduce or increase that amount of time for any speaker. So we have one application on the agenda tonight, which is DED 2417 7S Stockade Avenue, Coburg. I'll turn to the officer to present the application.
Thank you, Councillor. The application before the committee tonight is for use of the land for a hotel with sale and consumption of liquor, associated buildings and works, and waiver of statutory car parking and loading bay requirements at 7S Stockade Avenue. So the aerial photograph up on the screen now shows the subject site. also known as the Laundry Building. It's one of the historic buildings on the site. So the site's located in the activity centre zone. It's also affected by a heritage overlay. The site's on the Victorian Heritage Register. The site's also affected by an environmental audit overlay and the car parking overlay. I'll just take you through a few photos of the site. So that's a photo of the subject site taken from Stockade Avenue. That's a photo of the site looking towards the west. That's a photo of the eastern side of the site, standing in the common area of 41 to 43 Stockade Avenue. That again is that interface between the subject site to the right and the apartment building to the left. And then the next two photos show the interface with the apartment building on the opposite side. So that's 51 to 53 Stockade Avenue. And that's just a photo looking west along Stockade Avenue. The subject site is here. And a view looking the other way down Stockade Avenue. So a bit more detail about the proposal. So the use of the land for the hotel includes the sale and consumption of liquor, both on and for sale for off-site consumption. A total of 350 patrons is proposed. The hours of operation that are proposed are set up on the screen. There is a beer garden proposed at the rear of the site, and internal to the building, at the front of the building, an ancillary brewery is proposed. And the purpose of that is that beer will be brewed on site primarily for consumption as part of the hotel use. There will be a small component of packaged liquor for sale for off-site consumption. In terms of the works that are proposed to the building, it includes the internal fit out of the building for the use. There will be some external plant and equipment located along this external access way along the west side of the site. There will be the fit out and the furniture in the beer garden. There will be new emergency exits in this location, as well as a gate across that open area to the west of the building, as well as some bicycle racks for staff. The front of the site, you would have seen in the earlier photo, there's no wall at the front of the building at the moment. That will be reconstructed and will include an entry door. There will be some works to the western side of the building, as well as a new roof and some plant equipment in the roof. The proposal seeks a waiver of the car parking requirement in the short term. In the long term, it is proposed that the car parking associated with the use is provided in development to occur on the vacant land to the east of the site. The proposal also includes a waiver of the loading bay requirements. However, it is proposed that an indented bay be constructed in Stockade Avenue at the front of the site. No permit is required under the heritage overlay because of the registration of the Victorian Heritage Register. Heritage Victoria considers a heritage permit for the works. Heritage Victoria have issued a heritage permit for the works to the building. The plans that you see in the agenda tonight are the same plans that Heritage Victoria considered. The Minister for Planning, when he was the responsible authority, previously issued a permit for a restaurant at this site. That permit remains valid, and it included conditions that allowed up to 212 patrons. There's no restriction on the indoor use of the building under that permit. The hours of the use of the outdoor area are restricted under that permit. In relation to this current application, public notice of the application was given. Council received 13 objections and 1 submission of support. Up on the screen is a summary of the main issues raised in those objections. largely related to amenity impact concerns. So it is the officer's recommendation that the application be supported, but that it be supported with a number of conditions which limit the intensity of the use. So I've listed some of the key conditions up on the screen there. Primarily, the conditions reduce the number of patrons to a maximum of 200. It limits the number of patrons allowed in the beer garden. It restricts the hours of operation of the beer garden to 10 p.m. each evening, and has a restriction on the commencement of the operation of the use, with the public not able to come to the site until 10 a.m. every morning. Requires a patron management plan which deals with the queuing of patrons when the last patrons can arrive at the site, having security staff to assist with patron dispersal, requiring the kitchen to close at 10 p.m. each evening so that exhaust fans shut down. Introduce the acoustic attenuation measures that are set out in the acoustic report. Provide table and chairs for 75% of patrons. Restriction on the hours for collection of waste and delivery of goods. Restrict the use of the access ways to the east of the site. And require the construction of a footpath so that there's easier access down to Pentridge Boulevard where there's car parking, on-street car parking available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could I ask if there is an objector who wishes to speak first? Please come forward. Oh, sorry. Please come forward. Give me a second.
Hi, I'm actually speaking on behalf of a resident who's in Sydney at the moment who was unable to attend. So my name is Jennifer Blair and I live at Unit 351 Stockade, and I'm representing Jose Sellas who lives at Unit 551. Okay, so Jose would like to raise the issues of the level of noise that will impact the surrounding residents, and how, particularly with the open air garden area, how can the noise from there be controlled, and the inability of the premises and the associated security guards to control noise levels in the surrounding streets after patrons leave the premises, particularly on the nights when they intend to open until midnight on the weekends. There's not much parking, so most people will be walking around the streets to access public transport, which leads them straight past our housing complex. There is already an issue with noise along the street. People walking along Warden's Walk, if they're talking, we can hear it in the building. There are already a couple of other hotels within approximately 500 metres of the location. We've got a hotel on the corner of Bell Street and Sydney Road, and also the hotel on the corner of O'Hay Street and Sydney Road. So there really isn't a need for another licensed venue in the area. The locals already have a choice. And the parking situation, the Stockade Avenue itself and Warden's Walk, that section of Warden's Walk that joins Stockade Avenue, is two-way at the moment. There's only enough room for one car to go along when cars are parked on the side. Currently, it's already necessary to back, pull over into a driveway, mount the footpath to allow cars to pass each other. So if it was to go ahead, in addition to the requirements of adding a footpath, I could only see it working if it was made one way and the entry comes from Warden's Walk and down Stockade Avenue towards the lights. Otherwise, more traffic means more pulling over, more chance of a pedestrian being hit, more chances of a collision with cars, etc. So that's my initial response from Jose. Can I continue on as myself now?
Representing yourself now? Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, I live at Unit 351 Stockade, so we are right next door to the proposed premises. Mention that the Pentridge Master Plan did allow for a restaurant at the site, and we don't have an objection to there being a restaurant. However, there is a significant difference between a restaurant and a pub/brewery. The impact of a hotel is quite different to a restaurant. The opening hours are likely to be longer later than if you go to a restaurant, you expect to be finishing up around 10:30, pub 12:30. There's a higher likelihood of intoxicated patrons because the main purpose is to serve alcohol rather than the main purpose to be serving food. There's also the possibility of serving takeaway alcohol, which means people can just come in, buy their alcohol and sit out in the street and drink it if they want. Right out the front of our house is a lovely bench seat inviting people to sit and rest, and I really don't want people to be sitting and resting out front of our lounge room, having a beer and smoking out the front of it, 1 metre from our door. So I also have issues with the likely noise. Imagine having a 21st party right next door to your house every weekend, Saturday night, Sunday night. That's the likely impact of having a pub next door to us. I often work on the weekends, so I don't get to sleep in. I have to be up and focused and serving the community as a retail pharmacist in Coburg. If I haven't had enough sleep, I'm probably going to kill someone, and that's a fact. The proposed hours, the brewery, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Why do they need to be starting at 7 a.m. and what are they going to be doing at 7 a.m? Is it going to be noisy? I don't know. I've never been inside a brewery. I don't know what equipment is involved, but I imagine that there is some sort of noise involved. 7 nights a week that it's going to be open. That means we never get a rest from it being open. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday till 10 p.m, Saturday, Sunday till midnight, every day, every week. Put yourself in our position of having to live with that. It's not going to be pleasant. The whole area is a sound bowl. When the Christmas activities on the Friday nights during December over Bell Street, I could hear the bands every Friday night till 10 p.m. as though they were next door, and that's nearly a kilometre away. This is right next door to us. So sound travels really well. And a few nights a year is okay, but every night, day in, day out, week in, week out, is just not tolerable, and it's not fair on the local residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Blair. Is there another objector who wishes to come forward? Please do.
Hi, so my name is Amira, and I live in Unit 310A of 41 Stockett Avenue. So when I got to know about this, I was so, pretty angry at this because, okay, I live by myself, and and I work Monday to Friday, and I work really long hours, and the last thing I need is a pub that's like a hotel that's right close to where I am. And all the noise, currently, as she mentioned, when there's already current noise anyway from the other neighbours and from the other Bell Street, as well as, there's, all the other noises that I can hear. So even till now, I don't get enough sleep. But my main concerns are my safety, because as a young girl, obviously as a student or even as a working individual, the safety of a girl is, it's just... With the duration of the hours and with the everything that's selling alcohol, it's like she mentioned, they could be just standing there, just watching people. The safety is that's a safety issue, but also the noise issue. And when I don't get enough sleep, I'm quite angry, and I just think it's quite selfish. You know what I mean? To not think about the residents. We have elderly people, we have children, and we have young individuals who work, and the last thing they need is rest. They don't want to, be surrounded by noise, and there's already noise in it anyway. There's like 3 hotels nearby and with selling alcohol, so with this, I will never get enough sleep, and I don't want to have to move away from Coburg or from where I'm staying. So yeah, and I also wanted to mention that in the proposal that I saw as well, they mentioned that like an aged care home close to the proposed hospital site and the childcare center were also included in the site plan. How can you have a hotel selling alcohol with alcoholics around? There's a possibility of fights happening and all this stuff, and then you're gonna have a childcare center, and then you're gonna have an aged care center as well in the proposed plan. You know what I mean? Like this area is so small that even when I'm sleeping, I can hear noises like from the other rooms. And with this hotel that's there, it's gonna like no sleep, and there's gonna be a lot of violence. And even till now, there's always like sometimes I always hear there's always police checking up because there's a lot of noise complaints even currently as it is. So I really oppose against this because they're not really caring about the residents of this area. This is so peaceful at the moment, like where I'm staying. When I first came here 4 years ago, I came away from the city to get away peace and quiet from the hustle and bustle. You know what I mean? To get a nice rest. And I don't want this to go ahead because it's going to ruin everyone's lives, and financially for people who have already invested in this area, and health impact as well, and safety concerns for girls. There's going to be like fighting and shouting and people.
Sorry, I'm just conscious of the time, so if you can start winding up.
Sorry, but
No
yeah,
worries.
pretty much that's just the concerns of noise and safety, and this lack of space. And anyway, yeah.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
presentation. Is there another objector who wishes to come forward? Please come forward.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Blair and I live at 3/51 Stockade Avenue. So I'll just keep it short, but I'll expand upon the parking situation there. We're already along Stockade Avenue and Urquhart Street, I believe it's called. Just the one there. There's parking spaces, but they're already almost entirely filled up by the residents. For example, after the last meeting for this, we walked along Stockade Avenue, and there are only about 2 or 3 spare parking spots at around 8 p.m. out of maybe 50 overall potential spots. So with the added patrons to this place, there would definitely not be enough room for them to park actually close by. So then they would either have to park further away or catch public transport in there, and then they would have to walk through where people are living, particularly where in 51 Stockade Avenue, it's an open area where people already take shortcuts through to get onto Stockade Avenue. So if there'll be drunk people late at night walking through there, there'll be safety concerns as well as litter and noise. So yeah, I don't see how the parking situation could work, as well as the traffic flow throughout there. It's already terrible along Stockade Avenue. 2 cars can't pass each other. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Is there anyone who wishes to speak further?
Hello, good evening. My name is Nicole Dan. I'm a business analyst working for Vic Roads. Pleasure to see you all guys tonight, and sorry I was a little bit late. I had a very long day, and as you know at work we all have to hold our emotions and sort of be as diplomatic as possible, so I will be as blunt as possible tonight. So please don't take offence and don't take it personally. It's just an overview that I've had, an experience that I've had that I would like to pass it on to you. I would like to start with an experience that I personally had with Division D. I know that council members have given approval for that particular place to be a venue where for functions. I also know that based on that decision, the state government gave a liquor license. Now, that as a result of that decision, I almost had a nervous breakdown. I almost lost my job. We couldn't hear each other as we were on a terrace speaking. We could actually hear the lyrics of the music and the vibration through the walls. And that made me very upset because we have called police in numerous occasions and nothing has been done. We have passed this message to the council and not much has been done. On the contrary, I have received an email communication that actually said that we refused support or assistance from a council member to come over to assess the situation. This is not the fact, it's not accurate, and I'm not going to go into the details of what that was, but all I want to say as a result of what has happened, my trust in council, the trust that we have is ruined partially. And all I want you to do is to think about doing good work for the community and think about us as residents and put yourselves in our shoes and ask yourselves if you would like to be at your homes that you initially invested in, considering that there will be just a restaurant there, and now the facts are changing as quick as I count to 2 or 3. And would you like to come home and sort of not being able to rest and have music and sounds and vibrations through your walls up until 12 a.m? Would that make you comfortable? I know that the builder or the investor said that there will be things in place and we could actually escalate if any issues are to be arisen. However, I do not believe this because of the experience I've had before. So overall, I would like you to think about the fact that there is a very strong echo in that area. If I'm actually talking, and I have demonstrated that to, I've met with Sue Bolton and she actually experienced how strong the echo is in that area. And I would like you to consider our safety, the sound and vibration.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just conscious of time, so if you could start
Yes.
summarising, that'd be fantastic.
The
Thank
echo,
you.
the sound and the vibration, safety and the parking. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any further objectors? Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Johan Kambulat. I live in 101C Stockgate Avenue, Coburg. Same as Nicole, I've been living there 6 years. First 2 years, we went through the hell because of the D division. Every Friday, Saturday night, we used to call the Faulkner police station, some days till about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And even the sergeant, he came there, we closed the window, we put the TV sound up, still we couldn't stay inside the house. And we said, I saw the owner following day, I said to him, look, you have to do something about it. He said, what about I give you some money, take your partner Friday or Saturday night somewhere. Look, we make big investment here. When I'm working shift work, right? I want to come home, I want to rest so I can go to work next day. Would you believe that one stage we were thinking about selling the place? If it's like restaurant, you got no problem. But the pub is hotel is no. The alcohol you put inside the bottle is innocent. When you come out, goodness gracious me. I had that bad experience, so please, put your hands, your heart, put yourself in our position, you make decision. All right? Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any further objectors? Please come forward. Hi.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from 111A, and I'm on the level ground where I live, and I've even had a lot of drunks jumping over my fence during the day. So can you imagine when there's a hotel there? Restaurant, I don't care. I can go and have my dinner or my lunch or whatever. But I'm by myself. I'm a pensioner, and I don't think I can handle all these people, now they are going to get drunk. Don't get me wrong. My ex-husband used to work in a pub and I saw a lot of things. So there's going to be a headache and we're not going to be safe. I had people jumping over a fence to a fence. Can you imagine at night when they're drunk? Because out there we've got beautiful things with trees and that, and there's concrete things around. They can sit out there and just drink. I've got people next door having parties and I can't even open my glass doors to have my security doors and to get some fresh air inside. And I always have to have the air conditioner on because they're all screaming. They don't respect anybody there. Can you imagine all the drunk people or all the pub that they're going to be drinking there and doing everything? No, I don't think so. It's not safe for us. I'm there 7 years, and apart from a couple of years ago, we had all this trouble with the police every night coming there because I know them, and we went through hell. No. And the D division, you can hear it. And can you imagine though, this is right in front of us, of that building, and they're going to do the garden in the back. They're all going to be drinking. They're all going to be a mess. And it's not safe there. And I'm on the ground level. You are people who are on the high ground. I mean, they can come in. I'll be scared. So please think about it, what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any further objectors who wish to speak?
Okay, so I guess everyone's sort of already covered off most of what we need to say today. I suppose I just want to share my background a little bit. So I come from the western suburbs in Werribee and went through the process of buying my first property, and it was a decision I had to make based on sort of lifestyle and affordability, and then where I wanted to live as well. And I guess for me, I chose Coburg because it was affordable and I liked the direction in which the suburb's going, and created some noise and in terms of convenience and things like that. So I was really drawn to Coburg. Since moving though, I've had my car broken into, things stolen from my property. I've witnessed down O'Hays Street, like guys bashing each other up at night. And I mean, I come from the west, so, you know, Werribee, it's not, you know, Toorak, but I never felt unsafe like I do here. So I guess for me, it's more about if this does happen, and where my apartment is, it's overlooking directly where this brewery will be. To me, it's just really illogical to place that type of, I guess, venue, like there's built up residential area. So I don't think it's a wise decision. It doesn't make sense to me why you would want that. If it does happen, I'll definitely be moving because I can't sort of sustain my lifestyle as well as taking care of what's going on outside of my apartment. And I guess my other concern is the burger place. That's a real concern for me because what do people do when they're leaving a venue? They will go and soak it up with a burger and chips. And who exactly is going to be policing that? Because that's where all of that doesn't really take any sort of care there at all. So will that be up to us, or will that be up to, we'll be calling the police? Because that I think is going to be where the trouble is going to occur, that the crowds will be gathering at the burger place, to be honest with you. And whilst I support his business and think it's a great idea, I don't think that that's really what this area needs at this point in time. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I might have missed your name at the start.
Laura, yeah. Ta.
Thank you, Laura, for that presentation. Are there any further objectors who wish to speak?
Okay.
Yep, please come to the lectern so we can hear you.
My name's Tom Burton. I've been here 5 years. I'm a renter. I haven't invested in the property here. Since I've lived here, my car's been broken into 8 times, apartment once. And I feel that if they're going to have other businesses around, it's going to attract more people other than people that live there. So, you know, I'd rather have less people that don't need to be there, if you know what I mean. So it's sort of, I don't think it's going to enhance the the ambience. I think it's going to probably decrease it. And if it gets any worse, I'm going to have to live somewhere else. So.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. When you invest somewhere, you want only people that live there be there, really, and then invited guests. And when there's some other establishments, whether, you know, we all go to them, but you don't want them in, you know, in your backyard sort of thing. So I can see that's, you know, it's not going to be a positive.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any further objectors who wish to speak? Please come forward.
I'll just keep this brief. My name's Aidan Blair and I live at 351 Stockade Avenue. The corporation that owns the area is also currently dealing with the problem of up to 5 different residence cars parking on the common property. So the driveways, which are, well, they're not really driveways, it's walkways between the apartments. They're planning to install bollards to prevent this, and therefore there'll be another additional 5 cars having to park on the street when there's already such limited car parking spaces. Currently, the property on the north corner of Pentridge Street and Pentridge Boulevard and Stockade Avenue is used as secure parking for residents in the neighbouring QM building and Industry Lane, and accommodates approximately 57 vehicles. And this property also has plans to be developed into a high-rise tower. I mean, the proposed plan also includes car parking underneath, but whilst it is being developed, where will the people park during that? They'd have to park on the street as well. And there's currently no dedicated disabled parking spaces anywhere in the area for visitors. And any proposed parking provision at the southwest corner of Stockade and Pentridge would only be temporary until it's built upon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any further objectors who wish to speak? Can I ask if there's a representative of the applicant here? I don't believe there is. Oh, okay. There were a few questions that we wanted to ask the applicant, which we won't have the opportunity to do so. Councillors, I'm going to suggest that we have a 2-minute adjournment because there are a couple of issues that we want to consider further. So I'm going to call for a 2-minute adjournment just to deliberate on that and come through.
For that,
yes.
If the council officers could put the screen, the page back on the screen of the proximity of the development of the pub to the housing.
And prior to us adjourning as well, are there any questions of the objectors, any clarification that councillors wanted to ask?
Yeah.
Any further items of clarification that anybody want to ask of any of the objective presentations before we adjourn? No? Okay. So, thank you. All right. We'll have a 2-minute adjournment and return.
Moreland, like much of Melbourne, is experiencing a population boom. That means our city is changing. Residents are renovating and extending, and developers are looking to build high-density apartment blocks.
Moreland City Council plays a large part in how this change will occur. And it's not just the big things you need to come and talk to us about. You might not think you need a planning permit to extend or renovate your home, but you do. Here's a rough guide of when you need to come and talk to Council.
The Moreland Planning Scheme determines when you need a planning permit and directs how we'll consider your application. Good planning considers the impact a new building or development will have on the character of your neighbourhood and your neighbours. Things like a heritage overlay, environmental factors such as being close to a creek or waterway that can potentially flood, or even just the size of your block require you to get a planning permit before any work begins. It's important to consider your neighbours in the design phase of your project to avoid overshadowing or privacy issues. In Moreland, we're committed to protecting and enhancing the rich historical fabric of our city, and significant historical sites are protected by heritage overlay. Heritage overlay on a property means you must get a planning permit for all changes to things like fences or even installing solar panels or a water tank. A building permit will ensure that your building is structurally safe and complies with building regulations. It also makes sure that your project is built by registered builders with the correct documentation and essential inspections to be considered safe for occupation. Building permits aren't just for major renovations. You may need a building permit for a new swimming pool, a new fence or garage, even adding a veranda. You can apply to council or a private building surveyor to deal with your building permit application.
Well, the land's in heritage overlay.
It's essential to get the correct approvals in place before you start your house renovation to avoid future fines or insurance difficulties. These things can get complicated, so we recommend you make an appointment to come and see us early in your project to discuss your plans.
Okay? Have some respect. Have some respect. Right, shut your mouth. Simple. You shut your mouth.
You know it's rude not to speak English? You're in Australia. You can't be
We've had to stop. We've had to stop. Thank you. Where would you like to take the situation from?
I've seen people being racist towards other people and I've never known what to do. So when this came up, I thought that might be really practical because I think more of us should know how to be able to intervene in a safe and effective way. So I guess that's why I came.
And the practical tools are, how do we engage people rather than confront people or name and shame them?
If you can't be bothered learning the language, why don't you go home from where you came from?
Wow. Hey, I love your boots.
Thanks.
Yeah, where'd you get them from?
Market.
So we want to train people in how to get people asking questions and not clashing and having pitched battles.
Then I realised, wow, that's a fantastic way to disengage because I really did come from here because I was really expecting you to attack me to right down here very quickly. So that was really well done.
That's what we want to create, social change through little individual interventions.
Here at Moreland City Council, we've got a new library for you to try, but this one's a bit different.
It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You see, our website and e-library are just like another branch. It just never closes. You can download thousands of titles as ebooks, subscribe to everything from the Wall Street Journal to Delicious magazine, all delivered right into your hand for free. You can stream your favourite documentaries and indie features. There's even programs for the little ones. With our huge selection of adult, teen and children's titles, you're bound to find something you like. We've got over 7 million songs for you to stream, with everything from Mozart to Jay-Z. You're able to work out to your favourite artists just by pressing a button. We've got stories that talk with audiobooks for times when, well, you've got your hands full. And the best thing, like always, it's free with your Moreland Library membership.
This is just the next chapter in how our libraries are here to help you.
In Moreland, we're all about the good times. At Council, we bring you free events and festivals, from our smaller, intimate community celebrations to our large-scale premier events. We've got your social calendar booked all year round.
I get up at 4 a.m. every morning, so yeah. Hi, I'm Keith. I work for Moreland City Council. I'm a side load operator, and essentially, I'm a garbo. Normally stop off at 7-Eleven to get a coffee in the morning. Then yeah, head out at 5:30, start the run. One resident that I pick up from, he's always thankful. He's always there every morning, like every time I come around. Yeah, mate. How you going, buddy? Good day. You know, so it makes you happy when you see that. If you can make their day happy, it makes your day better. You meet a lot of residents from different backgrounds. It's good. I like meeting new people. It's warming. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not trying to make your life difficult by moving the bin. Just, we've got to do it so we can pick the bin up safely. We've got to look out for our safety as well. You know, seeing the kids' faces when you come down the street, they love trucks. Best part about it. Yeah, it's dirty work, but somebody's got to do it.
You'd be surprised how little sleep you can go on and still function and feeling like you need a university degree before becoming a parent. My name's Nicole and this is my daughter Eve. My first child, he had an injury from the birth and that was picked up by my maternal health nurse, and we were able to put things in place to make sure that didn't become a permanent problem for him.
Think about the feed, play, sleep pattern.
It's a big trust thing. You're relying on them to make sure everything's going well and to pick up anything that isn't, and they've done that for me, so it's been great. I've had a lot of problems with breastfeeding. The clinic is set up here to drop in, and they slotted me in for that, for some support there. How to bath, how to feed, what the sleep schedule should be, whether they're thriving or not. All those little details that you've got no idea about. If I didn't have this service, I think I would have had a lot more insecurities about raising my children. I would have been missing that sort of peace of mind.
I love helping parents to adjust to this new exciting role of parenting.
My name is Paul Kondo. I'm an active Moreland member. I've had an issue with my weight all my life. I knew it was time to actually really do something about it. You accept it as part of your life. It's not just a place where you come to have a workout, and it's a social aspect to it. You meet some great people, the instructors here are fantastic. It's a good environment. My daughter is very proud of what I've achieved so far. I made a promise to her last year that the next time we were going to go to Queensland, I was going to lose enough weight to be able to fit on the rides at the theme parks. I kept my promise to her. It's very motivating. You've got a lot of people that come in for the same reasons. They all come in here to work hard. I'm able to run, I'm able to bend over and pick up things without worrying about tipping over, so it's been good, it's been good.
My name's Damien. I work for Moreland City Council as a team leader on one of the asphalt crews. I know every bakery in Moreland, depending on which job I'm going to. Buongiorno Pasquale. Muy bien. Molto bene. Just potholes, general potholes, speed humps, new footpaths, repairs after builders, bike paths, anything that's got asphalt on, we fix. It can be pretty serious, as you can tell, especially for push bikes and mopeds and things like that. Potentially could cause an accident. We normally get on top of these pretty quickly. The common misunderstanding is that we're lazy and standing around 5 men looking down a hole when you have to watch. Otherwise they'll go through a gas line or a water line. Some kids love them. They cry as soon as they get taken away. They can sit there all day and watch them. Mostly young blokes. Residents could make my life easier by having a little bit more patience and maybe trying to understand, keep it going, exactly what it is we're doing. Maintaining the roads, keeping them safe for everyone to use. They're all necessary things we have to do, so yeah, I think our job's pretty important.
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Lara.
This is Lara.
Well, we wanted to build up a sustainable lifestyle as much as possible, so we made the decision first to get solar hot water, and we obviously worked a lot on making the garden as kind of sustainable as possible. Solar energy seemed like the next logical step.
We began by emailing Positive Charge, and then once we'd got advice from them, they put us in touch with Energy Matters. I think having the council approval and having the system already set up just meant that everything, at each stage, it seemed a lot easier than it might have been.
So by going through the Moreland City Council Solar Bulk Buy program, you can get a discount exclusive of recommended retail price. Also, all the government rebates and incentives are done for you, so all that paperwork's dealt with.
Yeah, we've more than halved our bills. We were spending around about $450 on power per 6 months. In the last 6 months, we spent $160 on power. So we've made a pretty big cut. It looks as though the system will pay itself off within about 5 or 6 years, which is fantastic. Yes, we would absolutely recommend the scheme to other people. We'd recommend Positive Charge. We'd recommend that people get in touch and ask some questions.
Well, I was looking for a job. The only way I'll probably get a good job is through a course, and what better course than lifeguarding. My name's Rodwin. I'm a lifeguard here. I watch the pool indoor and outdoor. I was working at a pizza shop, and well, one of my friends from Fawkner, he knows the people from the council, and apparently they had this program running, and he told me about the program and that I could end up working as a lifeguard. I took the job straight away. I like doing a job where I'm making sure that people are safe and happy. Yeah, everyone at Oxygen was very nice and very, very helpful as well with getting a job and everything. The course really helped with my confidence. They taught me how to become a lifeguard, towing, swimming. My family is proud of me. And they're very happy as well for me becoming a lifeguard rather than a pizza maker, And I would have also probably been not involved in the same community that there is here, pretty much in the Moreland Council and everything.
Moreland, like much of Melbourne, is experiencing a population boom. That means our city is changing. Residents are renovating and extending, and developers are looking to build high-density apartment blocks.
Moreland City Council plays a large part in how this change will occur. And it's not just the big things you need to come and talk to us about. You might not think you need a planning permit to extend or renovate your home, but you do. Here's a rough guide of when you need to come and talk to council. The Moreland Planning Scheme determines when you need a planning permit and directs how we'll consider your application. Good planning considers the impact a new building or development will have on the character of your neighbourhood and your neighbours. Things like a heritage overlay, environmental factors such as being close to a creek or waterway that can potentially flood, or even just the size of your
meeting formally. Thanks everyone. Apologies for the delay. There were a number of items that we had to deliberate on. So officially declared the meeting reopened. I understand that you have a further couple of points that you want to raise. Unfortunately, we have expired the time for the objectors to raise their concerns. We have been briefed fully by officers in terms of the prior discussions that have happened, the planning information discussions, all the concerns that were raised during those sessions have all already been relayed to us. So we are aware of a number of the concerns, but I'm sorry, if I open it up, I have to open it up for everyone. And unfortunately, just because of the process, we do need to keep moving on. So we're in formal meeting. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Sorry, I do understand that, but I'm just speaking on just behalf of the, it's just only one,
I'm very sorry. We do have to keep moving on. I apologise, but we have heard all the issues that were raised in all the prior discussions have been brought to us as councillors.
This one's quite different.
Okay, we have to keep moving on. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. We are now going to move on to any resolutions that councillors have brought forward. Councillor Bolton.
I'd like to move a refusal. So I'll read out the motion. The Urban Planning Committee resolves that a refusal to grant a planning permit number MPS/2016/198 be issued for the use of the land for a hotel with the sale and consumption of alcohol on and off premises licence, and ancillary use of the land for a brewery and buildings and works to the existing building, and a waiver of statutory car parking and loading bay requirements at 7S Stockade Avenue, Coburg on the following grounds. 1, the proposed venue given its proximity to adjoining residential properties will result in unreasonable noise impacts on the amenity of the surrounding area and therefore fails to satisfy the considerations of Clause 22.09-5 and Clause 52.27 licensed premises of the Moreland Planning Scheme by virtue of A, the hours of operation, particularly the operation of the venue until 11 p.m. and 12 midnight, B, the patron numbers and patron noise, including noise disturbance associated patron dispersal, C, the sale and consumption of liquor permitted by the liquor licence, and D, patron noise associated with the operation of the beer garden past 10 p.m. with patron numbers exceeding 150. 2, the proposal fails to satisfy Clause 52.06 car parking, as the initial reduction of the car parking requirements to 0 does not ensure the provision of an appropriate number of car spaces having regard to the proposed use for employees and patrons will result in fewer available on-street car parking spaces and detrimentally impact the amenity of nearby residential uses. So if I have a seconder, I can speak to it.
Thanks, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Farnley would like to second that. Please, if
Yes,
you
I
wish to
would
speak
like
to
to speak to it. I suspect that the development might actually be a good development if it was located elsewhere, like in the centre of Coburg. And I think there are some residents who would like to see another sort of type of establishment that sells, alcohol and so forth in an appropriate place. But having visited the area and seen, and I think this photo says it all, seeing the proximity of the restaurants, I'm not quite sure, the proximity of the residences to the planned pub, I think you can see easily the impact that this is going to have on residents. I'm not quite sure exactly how many residents, but there are, I think around 60 on this side, the eastern side that people see, and I'm not sure how many on the western side, which is equally as close. This is a large number of restaurants. Some are owners, some are renters, but it doesn't matter if people rent or own. People deserve to have the same level of amenity, whether people are elderly, young, workers, students, whatever people's circumstance. I think people need to have that amenity. Also, visiting it, this isn't necessarily the fault of the person who wants to set up the pub, but the aspect which will exacerbate the noise impacts is the fact that if you look at this photo, all the surfaces are hard surfaces, tiled area. I personally visited this area, and you can hear conversations in low voices from a long distance away because the noise just bounces around. There's nothing to buffer the noise. Sure, maybe the pub might have some acoustic elements and treatments, but I don't believe you can sufficiently buffer the noise given the way in which this development has been built. I think residents are if the development gets built, if the pub gets a licence, I think residents will be in the position where they're forced to use air conditioners instead of natural airflow, because people will be forced to keep their windows and doors closed in the summer and spring and autumn, when normally you'd leave them open, you'd wait for really, really hot days to use an air conditioner. And also, if you look at the picture we can see on the wall, they're overhanging balconies, which also means the noise is likely to drift up. And then also, in addition to all of this, I think residents tonight have made some extra points, which I hadn't really been thinking about so much earlier, which is, you know, what happens when people leave the pub. And of course, you know, we all like to go out and have a good time, and sometimes you're not so aware when you're in the middle of socialising with other people how much noise you might be making personally, even if there's no fights or none of the other sorts of you know, bad social behaviour. But, you know, I mean, we all know what it's like when you go out and have a few drinks and then you're looking for a bite to eat and you know, chatting to your friends outside the pub. So, you know, I think this will have a big noise impact. My understanding from talking to some residents is no one knew there was a potential for a pub. People thought it was going to be a restaurant, and you know, people understood it wasn't going to be exactly the same as the suburbs away from any kind of businesses, but the understanding was restaurant, where the main purpose of people going there would be food, and yes, you might have a few drinks, but the focus wouldn't be so much on the alcohol as it is in a pub, where the sale of alcohol is the prime focus and the buying of food might just be a subsidiary kind of thing. So I think this is the wrong site for this. Regardless of how nice a venue it might end up being, it won't be a nice venue for the residents. I just don't believe, with this level of proximity to the residences, I don't believe you can deal with the noise questions.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Afandi?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'm strongly in support of Councillor Bolton's motion of refusal for a number of reasons. Firstly, the noise impact on these residents. I have walked past that little very narrow side strip that's separating the residential building and also this proposed pub, and it's really, really narrow, and there's just nothing green or nothing that will actually protect the residents, noise walls or anything like that, that will protect residents from noise, specifically up till 10 or 12 p.m, depending on where inside the building it's coming from or what night it's on. So I'm very concerned about that. I know in past they've had very stressful experiences with Division D, so there actually is a use case there of what happens when there is something noisy in the area. It actually starts rebounding around that concrete chamber that's created. It's actually really hard to live in. It's quite terrible. A number of residents tonight have actually raised, and I wasn't aware of this, a number of break-ins in the cars in that area. We're actually looking to waive the car park permit for this particular permit. So there's got to be more cars on the street, and I don't know, potentially more thieves or more break-ins in the area. It's just not conducive to what we're actually about. Potentially this is not being staged correctly, and the car park needs to be built first before something like this is actually proceeded with to cater for the increase in patrons. A very good point tonight regarding how inappropriate is it to have a brewery and a pub across the road from a childcare centre, as opposed to a restaurant. I honestly didn't think of it, but when a resident raises it, it really resonated with me. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You can't grant permits of a pub and the sale of alcohol and consumption of alcohol right next to or next door to something that is completely opposite to that. The final one is, I don't know what the smell or noise implications are of having a brewery. I don't know what the implications will be to those residents, but I imagine, given the people I've spoken to, it's probably not going to be nice. You know, I imagine a lot of these residents have had a meal at the Glass Den, which is not too far from here, and they probably expected something similar to open up in this area. Well, the glass den's a lot different to what's being proposed tonight. This is a pub, this is a brewery, this is a very rowdy outdoor area, and I'm worried it's not going to be monitored and controlled correctly. So I'll be supporting Councillor Bolton's motion for refusal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Afanli. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the motion? Councillor Kavanagh.
I want to speak against the refusal, and I know that won't please the public gallery, but I think there's a couple of points that need to be made, and I can understand why both Councillor Bolton and Councillor Afanli want to refuse the application, but the concern I have is a number of concerns. Number one, there is currently a permit for a restaurant. That permit includes being able to have up to 212 patrons, many of them on site, and including using the outdoor facility till 11 p.m. every night of the week. Now, I would prefer myself to have a conditioned approval. You'll notice when the officer gave their report, they mentioned a number of conditions, but I think we could even make those even tighter conditions, with maybe less people outside, a less period of time to be able to use the outdoor venue, and less people on the venue full stop. I think that those sort of conditions, I think, would be very strong. I know mention's been made about Division D. Difference between Division D and this application is that this will, presuming this gets a permit, that means that the conditions of the permit are enforceable because it's been a legally gained planning permit. We do have officers that patrol outside normal business hours. But,
excuse me, could I please ask the gallery to respect the speaker?
The Division D did not have a permit, and therefore our officers had nothing to enforce, and that's why it was a police matter. There is quite a significant difference. If you read the last council meeting, you'll see the city development report. I think it's still on the web, I hope it is. And then every 3 months, that goes through quite clearly the enforcement procedures of a whole range of planning permits. It's worth reading that to see, yes, planning permits, they're not just, conditions aren't just written down. If they're in the planning permit, they are enforceable. And that's a very important point, I think. So although I can understand Councillor Bolton and Councillor Afanli and probably others who would like to see refusal, my preferred position would be to give approval with stronger conditions. And if that is unsuccessful, that's what I'm hoping will be moved.
Thank you, Councillor Kavanagh. Is there a councillor who wishes to speak for the proposal?
Yeah, I'll speak briefly. And I'm not going to take up too much time because I do agree with all the views that have been expressed adequately by Councillor Bolton and Councillor Afanli, and of course with the residents' views in regards to safety, particularly noise, and also the way patrons will move through the size of the outdoor area. But I wanted to mention that this is an activity centre officially, but there are activity centres and activity centres. When you actually have a look at the site now and walk through it, and I think that image does say it all, as Councillor Bolton said, you really see a residential area. You don't really see a whole range of other shops, other restaurants there at the moment. So even though in the planning scheme it is designated as an activity centre, what the developer, the previous developer, Pentridge, has actually built apartment blocks. And people have bought those apartment blocks or rented those apartment blocks in good faith, knowing that there might be nothing more than a restaurant. So I actually look at that photo and say that I'm not sure how you can mitigate against noise. It is way too close to residential areas, particularly those that are on the ground floor. So I don't actually think, even though it might be an activity centre on paper, but the actual reality on the ground is an activity centre. I think it's a residential area, and we wouldn't have such a development in a residential area.
Thank you, Councillor Tapanos. Are there any councillors who wish to speak further? Councillor Mayor Davidson.
I would not be supporting Sue's motion. Instead, I would be more aligned to what Councillor Kavanagh is saying. And if Sue's motion fails, then I would seek to foreshadow an alternate motion that has some very stringent conditions, making this application almost akin to a restaurant. So in the event that Councillor Bolton's motion fails, I propose to foreshadow another motion.
Thank you very much, Mayor Davidson. Any further councillors wish to speak? Councillor
Yes,
Riley?
I just want to speak in this debate because it's foreshadowing where Helen may be going with some more stringent conditions. I'm very grateful to the presentations that are made tonight, and I understand the history of this site. And so thank you so much for coming along and having an input into that. It's very difficult sometimes in these decisions to get the balance right, but I just want to read one bit from the report, which is about an activity centre, which kind of recounts what my fellow councillors just said, Councillor Lambros, which is the nature and the location of the licensed premises, even with the maximum of 200 patrons, will still result in a change of the amenity that residents of the building apartments currently experience. However, the objective of Council's municipal strategic statement seeks to support activity centres as important commercial and employment clusters, and specifically to ensure residential uses do not undermine the viability of businesses operating in activity centres. Residential amenity expectations should be consistent with activity centres' role to accommodate a mix of uses with day and nighttime activity. This is relevant because we have quite strong activity centres further south in the city where